Hi, my name's Paul Anthony from Bespoke Unit.
And I'm Rob Gagner with Boveda Inc.
And today we're going to be exploring the different relative humidity packs that Boveda offer. So Rob, we're going to assume that we've got a seasoned humidor, and there's link below of how to season a humidor. But once that's done, where do we go next?
I would start out with Boveda's 72% for all wood desktop humidors. That's probably the most popular, and again, most wood humidors exchange anywhere from 2 to 3 points. So you should subtract those 2 to 3 points to get your average where it's going to level out. So we're looking to shoot in the high 60s to store our cigars, and that 72% is going to be ideal for that wood humidor.
So when you say lose points, you're talking about percentage points of relative humidity, and we're going to be losing moisture potentially through the seals of the wooden humidor, if the cigars you don't put in on at the exact humidity. And we're going to talk about in other resources below how to prepare your cigars to actually go into your maintained environment. But
the wood itself is always going to breathe a certain amount of moisture, so theoretically we're always going to be losing a couple of points, always.
If you were in an airtight container situation, not a wooden humidor, would you also start with 72, or would you start with something else?
Airtight container, I would go strictly 69. I mean, 69% is the sweet spot to store cigars, except for old world cigars, Cuban cigars, but I would say for all new world cigars, 69% in an airtight container or nearly airtight container. Like LE Blue makes really good wood humidors and they perform really well, so 69% Boveda packs work really well inside those.
Okay, so we were looking at a Boveda humidor pack, airtight container, 69% for New World, probably 65 or 62 for Old World. Again, New World, Old World, if you're not really understanding this terminology, there's going to be links below to all of our cigar content, and you can always go to bespokeunit.com/cigars. So okay, now we've kind of set the baseline. You're either at a 72 to start off with in a wooden humidor, or 69 in an airtight container. Why would we need these other relative humidity packs that you provide?
Sure, just based off of the climate that you're in, or particularly the type of container that you're storing your cigars in. So if you started out with the 72% in your wood desktop humidor and you're just not hitting the mark, and you're still, utilizing one 60-gram pack for every 25 cigars your humidor holds, again, not the amount of cigars that you have on inside, you want to go with the amount of cigars it can hold. If you're failing or you're struggling at that point, you got to shoot up to the 75%. The 75 is ideally going to get you those extra percentage points to bring your humidity back up to the high 60s. People who suffer from this issue are particularly living in either dry areas, or they're living in areas that are high altitude. So all of that takes a big stress on our humidors, and thus we need a little extra boost.
I mean, even here in Philadelphia in the winter, we get some extremely low relative humidity conditions, and I know we're going to dedicate a full video to it, but you and I actually like to seasonally prepare our humidors where there may be 70 5s in the winter, and then in the summer we may go down to 69 or a 72 situation. So these things do seasonally cycle. So I mean, what are some examples of when you would use a 62 or a 65 for a New World?
So for New World cigars, particularly either some like high-end puros like Opus X is fully Dominican, and sometimes it just burns better when it's kept at 65% or 62. Also, like really oily cigars or really spongy cigars tend to just do better if they're a little bit drier. And again, it's just personal preference, right? Certain cigars smoke really great at 62 or 65, and other times they just fall flat and they just don't have as much flavor as they should, so they smoke better at 69. It's all personal preference. And then too, like if I'm going to store cigars for a long period of time, I might try to get a little bit further away from that 70%, and I might shoot down to a 65 or a 62 just to prevent the opportunity for any mold growth to happen. Even though we are, perfectly fine with, keeping cigars at the relative humidity we're at without any mold growth happening, things like temperature and certain amounts of moisture in the air can kick off mold really easily. And it's just something that happens no matter what level of relative humidity we store the cigars at. It just happens.
Sure, and I think it's also important to note that as with being in a low relative humidity climate, you can be in high relatively humidity climates such as Texas, Alabama, Florida, especially in the summer. I lived in Alabama for 2 years, and we were touching, you know, 100% stroke super humidity conditions all the time. So that's really interesting. So like adding that buffer, as Rob just mentioned, is kind of important, especially for some of the long-term storage that, you know, we don't have those spikes. So it just adds a little bit of wiggle room, and we're going to be producing a video, link above me, which is really important, where we're going to actually explain relative humidity and what that means and how it relates to using Boveda packs. So we hope that video has been helpful in kind of setting the scene and the stage for how you may want to use Boveda packs for your particular cigar storage needs and solutions. As always, please leave any comments and questions you may have below, and as always, like the channel, because we're always releasing new videos like this, and like this particular video. With that being said, my name's Paul Anthony, and I'll see you next time.